Welcome back to The Edge. Hey, FAQs are on the site reputation abuse policy for webmasters. Big changes are coming to search in 2025, according to Google CEO, and turning the legal tables as now the U.S. government's being sued for claims of overreach by Google. You're listening to News from The Edge for the week of December 9th, 2024, here on Edge of the Web Radio.
From the Edge of the Web studios, here's what we're looking at this week.
To Morty's point, yes, we just told you what we're looking at. So the big voice guy does need to actually just change a little bit because we already told everybody. This is Edge of the Web Radio. I'm your host, Aaron Sparks, owner of Site Strategics. Thanks for joining us. We're covering SEO and digital marketing news each and every week, separate from our weekly interview series. Check that out as well. We have some fantastic interviews from thought leaders around the planet regarding digital marketing and the like. Check out everything that we do over at edgeofthewebradio.com. That's edgeofthewebradio.com. Thanks to our title sponsor of this show, Site Strategics. We're proud to have them as an ongoing title sponsor of Edge of the Web. We're one of the top SEO companies here in the Midwest. The team here is consummate learners. We're always learning, thus the reason for this show, and we take what we learn from this and be able to apply this to our clients' work. So let's talk a little bit more about what we do there later in the show here. But joining me on the show today is the preeminent Brit from across the pond. That's Andrew Optimisey. He's an SEO consultant in Cambridge. Andrew, how are you doing, sir?
It's dark here. I'm confused because it's always so nice talking to you guys in the morning, and you're like, you're so bright and bushy-tailed, and it's like, I'm coming to the end of my day here. It's like, I'm the token British guy. I've got my tea. It's okay.
You're already tapped out. That's what you're saying. No. The thing is that you can't be tapped out with the sweater that you're wearing. You got to show it to us on the screen here.
Everybody,
oh my gosh, it's a beautiful Christmas sweater, and it's got Street Fighter characters, and it says KO, 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 as opposed to ho, 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 ho. Thank you very much for the Christmas
Merry
spirit.
Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas to you. What's happening in Andrew's world?
I'm being a bit of a media tart today. I've been talking on the SEO in 2025 book launch earlier this morning, so I've been hooking up my microphone and camera all day and not doing any SEO work, which makes a nice change.
Excellent. A media tart. Can we use that as the official term? Official?
I was going to say something else, which would have had like Jacob scrambling for the bleepers.
No worries. Well, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. We haven't talked in a while, but we always love having you come on and giving some of your insight into what's happening, because there's always something happening in the news. And this week is not disappointing us. Here's an article from Search Engine Land from the Barry Schwartz. Google adds FAQs to site reputation abuse policy. They've actually added several FAQs around site reputation policy. Now, for those of you that don't know what we're talking about here, there's been a series of changes here in 2024, specifically about content that is actually on a site that is kind of non sequitur, that's kind of borrowing from the large domain signals for ranking and subject to potential penalties and manual abuse penalties from Google. So they actually threw out a number of FAQs just to answer some questions. What's third-party content? Is content created by a separate entity than the host site? Some examples of separate entities include users of the site, freelancers, white label services, and the like. Does the use of third-party content violate the site reputation abuse policy? No. Having that content is not a violation. It's only a violation if the content is being published in an attempt to abuse search rankings. A number of other questions. Does freelance content violate the site reputation abuse policy? No. Does affiliate content violate the site reputation abuse policy? No. And again, you can certainly read the answers. Why in the world are they actually putting all this information onto this abuse policy? Well, there's certainly been a good deal of tumult in the, I'm going to use the word ecosystem. We're going to get back to it later. The ecosystem of site content because, and you actually tossed me a link here over at Moz here, Andrew. Dr. Pete actually gave us a timeline of site reputation abuse. In 2024, in March, Google announced a new set of spam policies. In May, they actually had targeted manual penalties for like coupons dot and finance dot subdomains on large websites. In October, there was also a suspected algorithm update targeting off-topic content, more manual penalties. In November, there were more manual penalties. And in November, we also have experienced a core update that finished into December. There's a lot of changes here. And what we're talking about is content, like we said, that is non sequitur. It's not part of the large domain, but it's actually parked there. And there's a lot of confusion in what's happening here, to the degree where we saw a number of sites like CNN, USA Today, LA Times. Those were among the first to receive manual penalties. Forbes also was one that really got tanked a while back, right after an article came out about parasitic SEO. So there's the stage right there. Andrew, what are your thoughts about this FAQ article, and more importantly, the larger context of this parasitic SEO climate that we're in?
It's a really interesting move from Google. I think this feels so much like closing the door after the horse is like not even bolted. It's like 3 or 4 fields away. And they're kind of dealing with this in a real life situation. Like this just feels like so many answers to the yeah, but questions they've been getting. Because you have all these sites that are, having piggyback content that we've all known about, newspapers and big publishers, CNN, the Daily Mail is the big one over here in the UK that does it. They've all had coupon sites stuff, and they've been making hay while that sun has been shining. And now they're getting smacked left, right, and center, and all these site reputation abuse penalties are coming down. And and I've seen some of the stuff, like Lily Ray's talked about it quite a lot on social media. You get a lot of this like, yeah, but, like, I had editorial control over it, or yeah, but it was, licensed, or yeah, but it was, wasn't filled with affiliate links, and yeah, but yeah. Right. And Google's just like putting out all this stuff of like, yeah, we're counting you too. It definitely counts. Yes, this counts too. Yes, even then. Yes, if your uncle wrote it, it still counts. All this kind of, it's all just this kind of like, we're not rowing back on it. It feels a bit like the whole kind of parenting thing where, your kids are like, they find some semantic loophole in you saying like, well, you mustn't go out Friday night. And it's like, well, technically I went out on Saturday morning. It was after midnight. So it's like, okay, so you haven't broken the letter of the law, but you've broken the spirit of the law. And that feels like what Google's trying to do here in terms of this, like, well, the spirit of the law was that you're doing this stuff. It feels kind of really woolly to me. Like there's still so much wiggle room in here. Like that Dr. Pete article talks about it in terms of, your site reputation abuse. Of like, you haven't got anything to worry about. If you don't have a good reputation, then almost have at it. Like, you don't have a reputation to piggyback off. Go for it.
Sure, go for it.
But I mean, that's not what he says. But it's, if you've got a junk website and you're spinning up subdomains to license content and fill it with affiliate junk, then you probably won't get penalized by Google because you're not ranking because your site reputation's awful. But I don't know what. So the message is what? So you're not in trouble until you rank? Aren't we all trying to rank? Isn't that kind of the point?
Right, exactly. Pretty much. And again, some of those examples, coupons.usa Today, coupons.businessinsider.com. Now, there's also one of the FAQs is also answering the point, hey, if we no index this content, does that mean the manual action automatically gets removed? They say, no, you still need to reply to the manual action in Search Console. They say, hey, if I move the content that's received a manual action to a new location, will that resolve the site reputation abuse? And the standard SEO answer, it depends where you move it. Moving content to a subdirectory or subdomain with the same domain, that doesn't resolve the underlying issue. Moving content to another established site, that will resolve the site reputation abuse for it, but it could also just introduce another one for the other website. Hey, moving it to a new domain, this is far likely to be an issue. If the domain has no established reputation, then you can follow their spam policies. So I think the barometer test here is this has been shady material anyway, and it does harken back to some 2011, 2012 type of executions, and finally they're stamping it out, and like we said, and like a number of SEOs have been showing, Forbes got hammered whenever this thing came through earlier this year. It's just not a good play to begin with, but it certainly does make money. So there's that counter argument. Maybe they can shift over here. Maybe they can move some content. Maybe they won't get penalized for a particular period of time because that money is still sizable in that content, right?
It's a tricky one. So Barry Adams has talked about this a lot in terms of, because it was these big publishers doing it, and the argument was, well, Google's squeezing them so hard anyway that they can't make money in their old ways of just through advertising and through eyeballs on their website. So when they saw this kind of gap in the market of, hey, we can spin up subdomains and leverage our domain authority and make money on the side, the argument kind of goes that, oh, well, that kind of fills the gap that, Google's been eating our dinner, so we're going to eat some of theirs. Hey, how do you like that?
Hey.
And the answer is not so much. So now Google's kind of cracking down on this, and it's like, uh-oh, now what? And I can kind of see that. It's like, I don't think there's that many people that didn't realize they were doing something a little bit shady. They kind of went with it, and it's kind of like, you kind of hinted at it. It's the black hat from 2011, right? You make hay while the sun shines, your site gets dinged, you shift it all over to a new one, you start again. It's whack-a-mole with Google. Yay. SEO like it's 2011.
All right. Well, pivoting to another article because change is constant with search. Google's CEO was actually interviewed, and he said search will change profoundly in 2025. This is from an article from Roger Monti over at Search Engine Journal. Google CEO Sundar Pichai was actually interviewed by Andrew Ross Sorkin at the New York Times DealBook Summit, where he actually discussed what to expect from Google and search in 2025, but also kind of struggled to articulate Google's concern for content creators. So the interview was a pretty strong interview from the interviewer. We got to give him some credit. He was not pulling punches on just talking about the competition, talking about where Google lost the reins a bit in AI, and teed it up for Pichai to be able to talk about what they're investing in. But he also squared up on the models from Microsoft and what they're doing. What was interesting to me about this interview, Andrew, is that as they started to talk about where the 10 blue links are going to be coming into play, where web creators and content creators are going to be still valued and honored inside of this continued growth of AI and on SERP features, answering questions without sending traffic to a particular website. He kind of stumbled. He actually kind of made a bit of a general point of view whenever he was talking about content on the web, websites, and specifically, he called them the ecosystem as opposed to really referencing users that are creating content. It's been a synergistic scenario for the longest time. Web content wants to rank. Google needs that content to train its own models on. And we are now in this space where the content creators are not seeing the value of what they're creating on the SERP. It's being changed and adjusted. So he really didn't reference much when it came down to what these changes are going to do to traffic value for these websites. Did you catch some of that interview, and what were your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I'm the same with you. I thought Andrew Ross Sorkin did a great job with the interview. He kind of didn't pull any punches, and it was interesting to see Google put themselves and Sundar up for that kind of stuff. And yeah, I mean, it's never an easy situation when you go up against a good interviewer who's going to go for you and ask all those tough questions. And so I kind of appreciate that Google put Sundar Pichai forward for that. But yeah, I kind of picked up on the same bits as you around talking about ecosystem. And we're going back to kind of parenting and semantics again. It's this whole thing about like, what words did he use and what words didn't he use? And we're all SEOs. We all know this kind of thing of, every single utterance that John Mueller or Martin Splitt or whatever, they're going to get poured over, and every single thing is going to get picked apart. And I don't envy them that at all. But it is interesting the way that he used terms like ecosystem. And I think it felt very stage managed and kind of PR to me. Like, it reminded me of politicians when they're told, like, okay, these are your lines. Whatever the question, use these words. And if you ever think about saying 10 blue links or websites or whatever, don't say that. The word we're going for is ecosystem. So ecosystem, keep saying ecosystem. What is an ecosystem? Who knows? I mean, is ecosystems Google's ecosystem and YouTube and Reddit and all the other things that it's got its fingers in pies with? Sure.
Right.
Maybe it's like my websites that I work on with my clients. I consider them an ecosystem. Does Google? I don't know.
Well, he also didn't.
The other one that jumped out for me was the numbers that they use. It's always fascinating with looking at all this kind of stuff where, he said things like Gemini's being used by 1 billion users in search alone. It's like, is it? Is it really? Do you mean AI overviews that you're forcing on everyone? It's a bit like, if Nike suddenly changed all their shoes to red, they can say, hey, everybody's got red shoes. And it's like, well, did they, or did they just not really have much choice?
Absolutely. I think there was a survey out of users that would actually participate in Gemini, and it was abhorrent, the negative response there. And he did, whenever he was talking about the ecosystem, he slipped into the YouTube content system as well to actually protect content copyrights and the like. So he emphasized that Google's preparing for its next generation of models and continues to be able to push the boundaries of AI research, citing a recent breakthrough in 3D scene creation from text and image prompts. Fantastic tools. Yeah, but the point is that there is a symbiotic relationship of content creators and search. And if Google is jumping leaps ahead in AI and creating interactive elements that do not send to a destination, ultimately, not only SEO, but just website content will, if they don't have that play, they'll be gated systems. And ultimately, you look at 5-10 years ahead, if it plays out like that, you're going to see a desert of content, all AI generated, because sites are just going to be blocking that content because they don't get the value from SEO that they did. Again, I'm prognosticating, but that could be the eventual pushback if Google doesn't realize the relationship it has with content creators around the world.
Yeah, it's difficult. I think they do realize it. And, there's kind of the snake eating its tail thing of like, AI feeding AI, feeding AI, feeding AI. And there's the amount of junk that's just spilling out over the web that then the LLMs are scraping and they're learning from. And it leads to a dark place. But I think Google have been kind of pushed into a corner on this of like, if they don't do it, then now people like OpenAI and Perplexity and competitors are doing it. So it's like either you get in that game too, or you get left behind.
Yep, absolutely. Well, it was an interesting interview. It was a bold interview, a bold series of questions. And you're going to see Google on the rocks more and more as they have to defend their own ecosystem as well. All right, here's a question for you. How do you create that authoritative subject matter content that Google's looking for? That's what we're talking about. Well, learning from your clients, always the first place to start, but organizing a well thought through interview process is time consuming. This is what we've actually developed here at Site Strategics, a SME subject matter expert interview process that's backed by our years of interview experience and techniques, as well as SEO research and buyer's journey persona definition. You can bring us in as a SEO SWAT team, extracting some incredible knowledge, voice, and passion from those SMEs for your use. We can actually deliver some targeted series of questions and goals for the interview, walking through organically some great conversations that really pull some manna from heaven when it comes down to subject matter authority. And that can be curated into video content, audio transcripts, blog content, structural content, and more. So if you're interested in what we can do for you, just go over to sitestrategics.com. Happy to talk about our successes in this particular space, because remember, it's not you, it's me. How about that? Anyway, last digital marketing news article, and this was actually something that I want to drudge up. It's not specifically digital marketing, but since we're talking about Google, from Android Police, check this out. Google is suing the U.S. government for overreach. Talk about tables being turned here. Google sued the CFPB over a recent order to supervise its payment services. Google argues government overreach due to the discontinuation of Google Pay in the U.S. So, okay, well, they're suing part of the government here. The CFPB is actually the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and they're challenging a recent order issued to supervise the company's payment wing. All right. So Google actually has two payment services. One's Google Wallet and Google Pay, and the latter used a peer-to-peer system for payments and was discontinued in the U.S. earlier. That didn't stop the government from actually wanting to regulate the transactions. They've had a series of about over 300 complaints from consumers and allegations of fraud and unauthorized transactions, but Google pushed back, going, hey, that's rubbish, because we're not even using that service anymore. And on top of it, we're also been talking about different legal actions. A subsequent legal action that Google did challenging the CFPB action, they said that it's incapable of posing such risk to consumers since Google Pay has been discontinued, calling it a matter of common sense. The CFPB maintains the discontinuation of Google Pay isn't grounds enough to refrain from supervising the company's business. Now, that was really telling to me, Andrew, is that you've got a small branch of the government going after a transactional element of Google. And we all know about the DOJ decisions as well as the ongoing trial inside of search ads. And boy, they have their hands full of these type of legal pushbacks. And then it's almost like a sucker punch comes around and tries to hit Google at a Google Pay product that doesn't even exist anymore. My gosh. Now, what does that really mean? In the large scale of things, we have no idea. But if government organizations are starting to try to push at the armor, look at the soft spots of Google and see what they can do to actually cite fraud or allegations, what have you, it's not going to be just the big legal suits. You're going to be seeing a lot of these small, I call them small paper cuts coming from the government to try to extract some pound of flesh from Google, right? So that's my take of what this was, especially since the bloody thing was discontinued in the U.S. But what are your thoughts about this organization and Google's fighting back and suing the organization?
So my first thought was, if this whole SEO consultancy thing doesn't work out for me, I think what I'm going to do next is go into like being a Google lawyer, because that industry must be booming, right? I mean, those guys are busy, like with DOJ cases, with this stuff, like, they are like working every hour that comes. So it must be super busy, super growth time in being a Google lawyer. So that's
you think that colleges are actually training a certain group of their lawyers just to go be lawyers for Google,
right? I mean, it would be a boom industry. Like, maybe that's where we should all be going next. But so I read through this kind of the article from Android Police. It was an interesting one. It definitely smacks of this kind of like, tit for tat, like, you're going to go for me or we're going to go for you or keep you busy with this kind of stuff. And the thing that caught me was like I love analogies. So my analogy for like Google saying, we don't even use that anymore, was like, you've got, 3 speeding tickets on a car. And so you sell the car and it's like, it's not even my car anymore. Well, you still did this. You did the speeding in the car, and we're coming after you for that. So,
No. The car's not here. Don't worry.
Yeah, not my car. No, I don't know what you mean. We've got this new car instead. Like, it's like, okay, sure, but it was lawyers and semantics and tying themselves up in knots with this kind of stuff. So somebody's going to be getting rich somewhere.
Absolutely.
Probably the lawyers.
These aren't the payment services you're looking for.
Exactly. Move along. So this was a bit of a barrage of Google information here, but pay attention to what's going on in the ecosystem, folks, because there's a lot of signals to actually
Not
read.
the ecosystem again.
That's the coin of the realm today. All right, shifting over to AI news quickly over at martech.com. Check this out. An article from Chris Wood. HubSpot is to acquire conversational intelligence platform Frame AI. It's going to add capabilities to pull insights from unstructured data in emails, calls, meetings, and other conversations. They've actually announced the agreement on December 6th. And Frame AI's conversational intelligence allows a lot of insight into things that you plug it into. The terms of the deal were not disclosed. Upon its completion, Frame AI will be a wholly owned subsidiary of HubSpot. Now, just back up for a minute. Remember we were talking about rumors of Google actually purchasing HubSpot? Just have a frame of reference there, no pun intended here. So now you have an AI tool that actually is going to be getting insights over all your email communications, all your meetings, all your data through the HubSpot integration. Yeah, they could very well be just waiting for a period of time to be able to allow HubSpot to mature this technology a little bit further as well. What do you think about HubSpot's acquisition there? Everybody's getting into AI, right? It's just any tech spot is grabbing hold of this stuff. It's again, it's a soup du jour, right?
Yeah, everybody's getting into AI. HubSpot aren't short of a few quid, so I'm sure they could, a few dollars. They can probably get into buying this kind of stuff, and they didn't disclose how much the deal was for. But I think it's an interesting move on their part in terms of like bringing it into their little walled garden, because it's super interesting to me how many people are signing like, client NDAs and, all these kind of GDPR things that we're still concerned about, and privacy policies and all this kind of stuff. And then everybody's just smacking out data into ChatGPT saying, hey, GPT, like analyze this for me. And it's like, whoa, what data did you just give to who? And
oh my gosh, you're right.
Shoved all these things in there because they want to get a marketing shortcut. Sure, that's fine. But it's like, how many legal things have you just preached there? So I think bringing that kind of stuff, like that kind of wave is coming down the line of like, actually, hang on a minute. Who owns this data? Who have you given it to? So moving all this stuff into your little walled garden of like HubSpot saying, don't worry, we've already got all your data. You don't need to send it out to somebody else's AI. We've got it all too. just, stay, it's like that Google kind of thing, isn't it? It's like, stay in the garden,
Yep,
stay with YouTube, like, stay with Gemini, stay, don't go anywhere else. Everything you have is right here.
We all float down here. You're absolutely right. And it just dawned on me what you just said there with GDPR and what have you. Are we going to be in the space where all of our digital communications, both social, email, any type of interactions, we are going to govern ourselves as consumer body with a training disclosure of you cannot use this for any type of insights or training on an LLM model, because we already know news organizations are doing that and pushing back on ChatGPT. Not that it's actually being recognized or abided by, but I mean, we don't really have that much of a leg to stand on. But for consumer and privacy rights, right, are we going to be in this space where we are insisting upon opting in for all levels of LLM to actually suck up our data and gain insights from us? I think we are already probably way down the course here, but realizing that just our interactions with different businesses and consumers at that level is subject to be digested by an LLM model for use someplace else, that's pretty scary.
I think that ship has sailed. I think so much of it's already gone. Like Google's already in your data. Like, they already read your emails if you're on Gmail. They're targeting ads at you based on the content of your email, this kind of stuff. Like, that those ships are way out in the ocean. Yeah. And I think, it's going to be reliant on good practice and good actors to then obey things like if we put robots text commands in and all this kind of stuff saying, hey, AI bots, don't come in here. And sure, then some of the good people that want to do the right thing might obey those. We all know there's lots of people that won't.
Yep. The honor code, the honor among data thieves, right? It's just not there.
I mean, how many times have you tried as an SEO to crawl a website and then you've hit the robots text and it's like, oh, this robots text forbids you. And it's like, not anymore.
Ignore.
We'll just around that. Ignore robots text. In we go. Give me all your information. Thank you.
It's like you were spying over my shoulder the other night. Okay. All right. Hey, there's another article, but we're not going to be able to give it justice here over at Search Engine Journal from Shelly Walsh. She interviewed what 7 SEO experts think about AI overviews and where search is going. Some great interviews from Jonah Alderston, Mark Williams Cook, as well as Pedro Diaz. And I'm hearing a lot of the same things that they've said to us on the show in this. There's Erica Varanguli. I'll pick out one in particular just because we're huge fans of Mark Williams Cook. He's been on the show. He's going to be coming up on the show here soon. He's talking about branded search is the gold standard. His opinion is that we're in an odd place sitting on the fence between two technologies. He thinks that there's a disconnect between the user expectations and search capabilities. Key point is, he says, that AI models like LLMs and overviews, we've introduced a new way and expectation for users. However, the danger is most people don't understand how AI works or realize it can make mistakes. Google's built trust over the 20 years, so people assume that its answers are accurate, even though AI overviews have produced some very incorrect results. So the issue is users aren't aware of the AI limitations. So when an overview gives faulty information, people's defenses are down. They trust Google and assume AI is inherently clever without realizing it can produce biased and inaccurate responses. Much more in that article from some great subject matter experts in that space. So we highly recommend you go over there, check out the show notes. And if you're part of the newsletter, you'll be able to see that in the newsletter. But pick one that you read from this article and give me your thoughts about it. Andrew.
Yeah, hat tip to Shelly Walsh. She's awesome. And I'm a similar fan of Mark Williams Cook as well. So I won't talk about him because his head will get too big because I'm a big fan of his. The one I interestingly picked out from Shelly's interviews was Arnaud Hellemans and him talking about the future of search. And he's got kids, I've got kids, and it's really interesting watching how they search and how the channels and the platforms they're using, like TikTok and things, influence search. If you look at what's trending on TikTok and then the fuel that then gives to people then going to Google to search for things because, hey, I saw this cool thing on TikTok and now I'm searching for it. That's interesting to me. That whole, again, we're back to ecosystems. The messaging and the things that people are talking about you on your platforms and when they're looking for this thing and we're all being in all the right places at all the right times, right?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. So please have a look at that article. Some really good insights from those specialists there. All right, one more thing, and I'll just do a shout out to it. Won't even get into it because it just got released. But OpenAI has released Sora now, finally. It's an image-based text prompt for video creation. We've all seen some of the demonstrations of this, and it's finally actually
What is that?
As a mushroom person. Oh, my gosh. That is weird. There's a bunch of ladies. It really is. Jellyfish floating through trees. Yeah, this is all the stuff that we really want to do with video content creation.
This is really going to
Thank
change
goodness
how
it's here. This is really what I need. Mushroom people and flying jellyfish.
This is really going to change the intro to this news show.
All right, so Sora's there. Everybody, give it a try and tell us what you think about it. We've been waiting for it for a while, and that was almost like the biggest deception right there, because they were pumping such a lot of PR against Sora. And
when did that first get announced? Like a year ago?
About 5 months to 6 months ago, I think.
Okay.
Maybe even longer.
I was going to say, it feels like it's forever ago.
Yeah, it does feel like
I don't
that.
know. Try to figure that out.
Yep. All right, let's check it out. Tell us what you think there. All right, pivoting around real quick. We're proud to have InLinks as a sponsor of Edge of the Web. Did you know that entities play a major role in how search engines understand and rank content on the web? Long gone is the days of keyword. Keywords are a derivative of entities. So it's time to actually match entities and add entities into your mix and reach higher rankings using InLinks, an award-winning software in entity SEO. You can elevate your SEO with their entity-based keyword research and be able to uncover some relevant clusters that you may not have in your site content that would very well put you head and shoulders above competition. So look at their software. It's a fantastic tool set for cross-link creation, dynamic cross-link creation, as well as content briefs and generation. They use a lot of AI to be able to actually dive into this type of entity recognition. You can also utilize it for your own social media calendars and the like. They've been a long-standing show sponsor, and we certainly appreciate InLinks. And also go check out Dixon Jones' presentation on the SE Ranking 2025 webinar, where he actually really kind of broke down the entire concept of entities and search engine ranking. It's a very valuable piece of information, and he led an instructor course there of that concept. So we'll put that in the show notes as well. All right, now let's get some Barry out of the. Now let's get some Barry going. All right, 2 minutes on each article. Google search ranking volatility continues post-core update, says Barry on Search Engine Roundtable. The Google November 2024 core update finished on December 5th, but he's continued to see search ranking volatility after the update was finished. That ranking volatility seems to spike more over the weekend. He asked, did you notice any big ranking movement? He's got some SEO chatter there listed as well. Andrew, tee it up to you. Have you seen any in your client base, any ranking volatility due to this core update?
Yes, all my clients, their traffic only ever goes up. I'm kidding. So obviously they all only ever go up ever. But it's interesting. I think the volatility is just the new normal. It just feels just the same. I mean, everything's changing all the time in Google at the moment. They keep adding new things to the SERP, taking new things away. They change features all the time. So I think if you're trying to look for stability in search and SEO at the moment, you're in the wrong place.
Mm-hmm. Roger that. And we always try to bring up awareness of a core algorithm or a algorithm update for our listeners. And we always caution, do not react rashly. Watch what's happening, because sometimes there are also reversals. But you got to be aware of what's going on. Watch your ranking, watch your site content, because you never know if something could very well inadvertently apply to your site, but you got to be paying attention to it. All right, second article. Google has... What's that again?
Sorry, broad brushstrokes, like directions of travel.
Absolutely. All right, another article from Barry. Google has 40 signals for canonicalization. Did you know that Google uses around 40 different signals to perform canonicalization in Google search? This not only includes numerous types of redirects and rel canonical attribution, but also things like X default, sitemaps, links, PageRank, and other signals. Google does not list all the signals, but it said that the most important signals used for canonicalization are redirects, rel canonical attributes, and maybe X default. This came up during a an excellent search off the record interview with Alan Scott from the Google search team, who works specifically on duplication within Google search. So certainly check out the 3-minute 45-second mark of the interview. It says, I'm not sure what the exact number is right now because it goes up and down, but I suspect it's somewhere around the neighborhood of 40 different elements about canonicalization. And if SEOs, if you've not paid attention to canonicalization, get in there and understand what signals you're actually sending to Google, because not only just from a duplication standpoint on the web, but actually understanding how strong of a signal it is for your own content. Having that tattooed inside of your structure of your HTML is incredibly valuable just from a point of authority. Andrew, 40 signals. Can you name them out? And go.
Yeah, so my favorite one is, no, it's really interesting. I think this kind of stuff around canonicals, and it's the listeners, I suggest the thing you need to think about is what is an instruction to Google and what's a hint.
Mm-hmm.
And a canonical is just a hint. Everybody seems to think, oh, I just stuck a canonical on it, and hey, that should stop Google doing anything with that because, hey, I told them to canonicalize it. And it's not as black and white as that. It's just a hint. Yeah. Google can still pick its own canonical. It can still ignore your canonical. It can do some, none, or all of the above. So, yeah, and they even joke about it in that kind of chat themselves where they said, I bet there's going to be some SEOs out there trying to find out what every single one of the 40 is. And you know that there's going to be. It's not going to be me. God, yeah. But somebody will try and work out what the 40 are.
Absolutely.
You know the really tall chef's hat with all the folds in it?
Yep.
Each pleat represents a different way you can prepare an egg. I think we need to come up with something for SEOs.
That is so random.
We need to come up with the SEO equivalent, the different.
That's going to be one bumpy hat.
You need to come up with some sort of hat,
all right,
with a fold or some sort of mark. The different
every demarcation of canonicalization.
Yep.
Some sort of sequined hat,
and we can all wear it as a badge of honor. We know all the ways that Google.
I've got all 40.
Like
That's almost like
McDonald's staff stars. Like when you how many canonical routes can you name? And you get the different stars depending on how many you can name.
Mm-hmm. Yep. How's your bling there? Are you wearing all the bling that you should be? Because
I don't know that the hat is. I don't think you get a fold once you make all the different eggs. I think it's just the hat is folded to represent that there are
so many ways to make
100 ways to make an egg.
Oh my gosh, 100 ways?
I know 3. I think sunny, scrambled, Overreach. I'm done. Burnt. Can burn an egg real well.
Oh, okay. There's too many analogies here. I can't sift through them. Last article from Barry. Hey, Google Search Console legacy tools and reports have been removed. They've dropped a whole section from its sidebar. The legacy tools and reports section have been removed from that sidebar. It's unclear exactly when it was removed, but it was likely removed when Google also dropped the page experience report from Google Search Console. So it's gone, folks. Legacy tools and reports had a couple of different pieces in there. This is what has led to web tools reporting containing the ad experience report, which is also still actively being used by Google, by the way. Other reports are there, as well as abusive experiences, notifications, and the like. So now it's like the disavow tool buried in GSC, old versus new below. All right, so it's gone. It looks like there's some activity in Google Search Console here recently that you should be paying attention to, except for the insights, because the insights are so benign, so non-actionable that, I mean, we just highly recommend just don't even look at it, because what can you do with them? All right, Andrew, last point, last take on our Google Search Console ecosystem changing.
I'm encouraged that Google are continuing to work on Search Console because I do love it. But I was confused there. What did you really think of the insights? You think there's still some opportunities there? I wasn't clear about whether you were pro or anti. I
was not too subtle there. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Okay, thanks so much. Fantastic. Being Webmasters Tools has a site scan tool, right? And it actually goes through and actually gives you and delivers you some specific information that you can act upon. This is what they're trying to do. They're trying to posit that for the consumer, and it literally has no steps to take. It's just silly. That's what I'm saying. It's just silly.
Yeah, my first experience with that was it was saying like, oh, your traffic's gone down this week for one of my clients who's based in the US. And it was like, well, yeah, because it's like Thanksgiving and nobody's there. So they were a kind of B2C client. And so, of course, everybody was on holiday. So they weren't getting so much traffic. And it's like, come on, Google. Send them some big scary message of like, hey, your traffic's gone down and you're 50% down on last week. And it's like, yeah, I know.
And they also message that. They also message that in the email, so they'll actually pack those insights into emails. And here's the other thing, folks: if your clients and they should be owners of their own GSC, if they're getting that email, you should be able to get in front of that, going, "Okay, this email's stupid. It doesn't have any true insights here. It's literally just there and possibly scary." Big red exclamation point. No. Don't worry about it. There's a public service announcement for the day. All right. Well, that's it for the news, folks. Thank you very much, Andrew. Andrew, certainly we'd love to promote anything that we could promote for you right now before we sign off. What you got?
So you can find me as Optimisey pretty much everywhere. For my American friends, it's Optimisey with an S because I'm British. So I'm on Blue Sky, and I have optimisey.com as my website. And what did I do recently? I'm on the Wix studio training course. So
very cool. Yeah, that's
if you want to learn about keyword research, I'm on there. Go and find me there and learn about how to do keyword research.
Go find Andrew. He's a hell of a guy. And on top of that, he really does help a lot of different clients. And he goes the true path as opposed to just staying in 40 points of canonicalization. Yeah, thank you, sir. All right, that's it for The Edge this week. Make sure that you check out the Jonathan Gilliam second part as we talk to him about originality.ai and being able to understand the authenticity of content in the AI ecosystem that we live in. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe over to our YouTube channel as we move our show insights and quick takes from our interviews over there. Make sure that you check out the newsletter as well, because we're pushing that out every week with all the show notes as well as much more that we prep for that couldn't get to in this show. Just go over to edgeofthewebradio.com, sign up to the newsletter free of charge, and we're sending our gold over to you each and every week. So from all of us over at Edge, stay safe, stay well, and do not be a piece of cyber driftwood. We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye. Ecosystem.